If you believe that the major world players, governments, mass media, social media, big tech, globalists have conspired to take away your freedoms and rights, I've got a couple of suggestions for you. Hello, I'm Dr. Sam, this is Dr. Sam's Health, and today I would like to talk about the Great Reset, which is a very interesting topic and very special to me because essentially it is something parapsychiatric. There are lots of people who believe in conspiracy theories, and there are other people who believe that people who believe in conspiracy theories are essentially insane. So, as a psychiatrist, I have to make a special disclaimer today. I'm a practicing physician and a psychiatrist, but nothing I talk about in my videos should be considered either as a medical advice or a psychiatric evaluation of anyone. And I'm not gonna do anything like that in my videos ever. In addition to that, I would like to say that opinions that I express in my videos are solely mine. They might not necessarily represent the opinions and statements from my regulatory bodies, my colleges, my universities. So now let's talk about the Great Reset. So what is it? And I will give you my personal understanding of this phenomenon or this idea. Last year, 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, there was an annual economic forum in Davos, and lots of rich, influential people gathered there and discussed their plans on how to make the world economy and the world in general better. And here I would like to make one important remark. I believe that these people are so rich that they are essentially out of touch with reality. They are flying in thousands of private jets and talk about climate change and the effect of the technology in private jets or jets in general on climate. One of them is developing $50,000 toilets for the poorest countries of Africa, and so on and so on and so on. So they are full of very high-level utopian ideas, and I believe that the Great Reset might be one of them. This time, in 2020, they came up with this idea that since the world economy is so heavily affected by the pandemic, by the lockdowns, by the disruptions of transportation and production of goods, it is a good time to restructure the world economy, to reset it. And one of the optimization or restructuring strategies suggested was switch from the ownership model to service model. A good example would be car ownership. Most of the people these days, they own their cars, right? So we have to pay for the car, either in installments or in lump sum. We have to service it, we have to keep it in good condition, we have to keep it somewhere, so we need some sort of a garage or parking spot. Wherever we drive, we have to park it and sometimes pay for parking, we have to pay for gas, we have to pay for oil, we have to keep our driver's license with us all the time, and car insurance and things like that. Instead, if you are not a frequent driver, it's much easier to use something like taxi cab or Uber. And there are lots of services that are quite competitive and they provide you with a good value for your buck, and it's hassle-free. So if you compare these two models, you will see that having something like Uber is actually economically much better for you, and it is much better for climate and for the world economy in general, because instead of saying having like 10, 20 people owning their cars and paying all these things, and having 10, 20 cars most of the time sitting somewhere in their garage or in the parking spot, we can have one or two Uber drivers who will service all these people with much more optimal utilization of the vehicle itself. This model is very promising, it really works great in theory, and we can see that with certain aspects of our life being freelanced, outsourced to Uber or other companies, this model works in practice too. So these great leaders who are, again, in my opinion, are somewhat out of touch with reality, they decided that, the good idea would be to strategically move from ownership to services. And hence, they came up with this slogan, which is a very weird slogan to begin with. The slogan is, "You will own nothing and you will be happy." Personally, I do not believe in conspiracy theories, but this particular slogan made me think about conspiracy theory right away. It looks like a communist coup when everybody will be living in some sort of pods, eat insects, and we will own nothing and will be brainwashed to be happy. Obviously, it's not the case, and I do not think that that's what they meant with this slogan. I believe that they meant that switching from ownership to service model will make you much happier and it will make the world a better place. But what we have as the end result of this marketing and the slogans is that lots of people believe that there is a conspiracy, that big tech, globalists, Rothschilds, bankers, governments, they all conspired against us to take away our freedoms. I do not believe that it's the case, but if you do believe in that, I have a couple of suggestions in terms of what you can do. A lot of people these days believe that they are powerless, that their power has been taken away from them or is being taken away right now by big tech, by social media, by mass media, by governments, by globalists, by whoever. And I strongly disagree with that. I believe that we have all the power, and if you believe that they have too much power over your life right now, it is time to take responsibility for your own life and to take this power back. So here are my suggestions. Let's start with governments. Local, national, provincial, doesn't really matter. You do have a power over that. This power is called electoral vote. You can go to your electoral station and vote them in or vote them out. And it is very important to, first of all, to go there and vote, because as you can see, in the majority of elections these days in the Western world, only like 30, 40, 50% of people are voting. There are half of the population that are apolitical, and I think it's a luxury you cannot afford. You have to go there and you have to vote. And some people will say, oh, my voice doesn't really matter. It's just me. No, it's just you. And there are like thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes millions of people. And we could see in the American election that, say, 10, 15,000 votes can actually swing a state into one of the directions and accordingly affect the whole elections for the whole country. So it is very important, first of all, not to miss this opportunity to vote. Accordingly, there are a couple of other questions that people will raise. One of them is the fact that they don't know whom to vote for. They're all the same. Well, they are not the same. They might seem to be the same just because you do not know anything about your political parties, your candidates, but that's your problem, quite frankly. You have to do your research. You have to look into all candidates. You have to study the background of the political parties, their programs, what they are promising, and you have to make an informed decision. If you cannot do it on your own, talk to your friends, talk to your maybe political leaders. You can actually go to your party's office and ask questions there, and they will meet with you. So that is a very important part of your life. You cannot be apolitical currently, because if you're apolitical, you are letting things happen without your power. You're giving up your power. Also, some people will say that there is no point in voting at all, because all the elections are rigged, and they will quote Joseph Stalin, who said that it doesn't matter who votes, what matters is who is counting votes. So first of all, if you believe in this thing, it's a very sad thing and very pessimistic stance, that you believe that you have no power over everything that is happening around you. I don't believe it's the case, and I do believe that in modern society we have a lot of power over that. Again, like with voting, what you have to do is you need to become an observer during the elections. So become a volunteer, join a party of your liking, become a volunteer, go to a voting station and observe there. And the next step will be actually my last suggestion, is that if you believe that it's just one vote, just one voting station, one action of one person, it is important to know that you can merge efforts with other people. And I'll talk about this in the end of this video. But right now, let's move to the next subject. The next thing I want to talk about is education. As someone who was raised in one culture that has collapsed while I was in school and was kind of reborn in a different shape, and then I moved to Canada, I have experienced effectively like 3 schools of education. And I can make comparisons, and I can see that a lot of people, especially on the internet, are making statements that are actually clearly stemming from lack of education and lack of understanding of very basic things, and I can only blame it on the educational system. But I don't want to do this because, again, I believe that education is a very important pillar of our society, and if you feel that you do not have enough information in order to make informed consents, informed decisions, you have to educate yourself. And as someone who is MD, PhD, and I have like actually 2 university degrees, one is in medicine, another one is in economics, I must attest to the fact that the vast majority of my knowledge came from self-study. I'm obsessed with buying books and reading books. You can see that I've got quite a few shelves here. I actually have like 3 times more in different places in my house. I do read a lot. I use Wikipedia, I use educational courses. I'm trying to understand lots of things. And the main reason why I have created this YouTube channel is just because I've seen so many people talking on YouTube, on the internet in general, about things that they clearly have no understanding. And it is so obvious to me as to a relatively well-educated person that I decided to create my own channel to share my expertise and my knowledge. In any case, my point is that you have to educate yourself no matter how formally well-educated you are. There are lots of things that you are not supposed to know about. I'm a medical doctor. I don't know much about plumbing or about fixing cars or about lots of other things. And with this pandemic, actually, ironically, I feel like we're in some sort of dark ages here because people are talking about the vaccines, about the epidemiology without having any basic formative education in that. It's actually ridiculous to hear certain things. And one of the reasons, again, why I started this YouTube channel is just to talk about these things from the expert standpoint. And every video I make on COVID-related subjects, actually on every subject, requires a lot of extensive research. So I'm making sure that I'm not conveying any kind of wrong message. If I'm talking about masks, I do this research about the sizes, about the pores, about the virion sizes, about the effectiveness, about the clinical research there, and so on and so on and so on. So please educate yourself. That's the only way to have the power of rational mind and to be able to make proper political decisions, decisions about economy, about your life in general, about medical things. Trust me, it will have a huge payoff, and it's quite interesting. Okay, enough about education. Let's talk about 2 other things, mass media and social media. And I will talk about them together because they are very intertwined, they're merged in modern society, and they are very similar in a way. So, mass media. We believe that mass media are lying to us, they are forming our opinions, they're steering our opinions, they are playing with our emotions and our attention. And I would say that if you believe that, you likely are right. Because they have their sponsors, they have their political affiliations, they want to sell their product, so they have to be sensationalist, very emotional. And there are lots of people who are actually manipulating media in order to manipulate the public opinion. And as rational human beings and somebody who is educated and trying to make informed choices, we've got a couple of options in terms of what to do with them. First of all, you can opt out from mass media to begin with. Don't give them any power over you, don't give them your attention, don't give them your time, don't raise their ratings, and they will have to listen. If many people are doing this, they will understand that their strategy is not working. But let's not talk about like mass effects of this. Most important effect here is effect on yourself. You have to educate yourself again, and if you want to have some sort of an unbiased opinion, you have to listen to several sources. Say, if you want to hear about American elections, about certain political candidate, you have to listen to CNN, to Fox News, and likely you have to listen to Russia Today because they will have an absolutely different standpoint on that. And then you can listen to all these 3 opinions or more and aggregate them, unite them using common sense and rational thinking in order to form your own opinion. It's a very difficult process. I'm not sure if you want to engage in that, but in any case, I would suggest minimizing your usage of mass media and only use it for educational purposes, for the purpose of getting information, and you have to get this information in a very specific way. You have to aggregate it. You have to be very analytical. And now let's move on to social media. Social media amazing platforms that are created to get your attention and to monetize it. And just because of that, lots of us are spending a lot of time, we're wasting a lot of time using social media, exchanging some photos, liking some cute puppies or kittens, watching some unspeakable or amazing acts of kindness and so on. We are getting emotional, we're clicking, and somebody there makes some money off of these clicks, and you're wasting the precious time of your life. And also these days, in the past several years, things like Facebook or Twitter, they became a huge political and social influencers, and I'm not sure if it is a fair game to begin with. So if you don't want to be a tool in their toolbox, if you don't want to give your power to them, don't give them any attention. Use them only to connect with people. Don't click on any banners, don't follow any cute streams and so on, though it is very difficult. Again, like with mass media, just use them very selectively and very minimally. And now let's switch to something truly conspiratorial, to the globalists, like bankers, financial institutions. So I don't even think that it is a conspiracy theory that there are lots of bankers who want to gain as much control over the world as possible. It is the nature of things. So if you have a corporation, you want this corporation to thrive. You want it to be as big as possible, as influential as possible, as profitable as possible, and they have a tendency of growing, aggregating, forming conglomerates, cartels, and so on. So that's what we are observing. That's the globalist agenda or globalist world. My point here would be that if you believe that it's something that is happening, it's a real thing, and it bothers you, again, don't give them power. Don't take mortgages, don't take any loans, don't use credit cards. Or I would rather say, likely won't be able to get away without any mortgages. So have your mortgage, try to pay it off as fast as possible so that they can make as little money off you as possible, but don't use credit cards, pay cash, use debit cards. Try to shop local. I actually hate large corporations. Like, you must have seen a couple of videos of me talking about my iPhone, talking about HP, and I always have this like huge barrier, when you're calling some support and you have to go through some hoops to talk to somebody. The same happens with banks, and there's always some sort of a broken telephone kind of scripted communication that I really, really hate. I would rather go to some small local shop and buy there and get services from somebody local rather than a huge international corporation. So again, it's a little thing that you can do, but it pays off. Shop local, minimize the use of financial institutions in terms of getting credit. That's it. And the last, but likely the most important thing I would like to talk about is this feeling of it's just me. You likely will feel very lonely on this path of introducing these changes in your life. You likely feel that you are giving up all these things and you will just not reaping the benefits of the great financial institutions, great services provided by international companies, social media, your favorite TV shows, things like that. But actually, I would like to use the concepts derived from game theory. The key idea is that if we have a situation where multiple players are trying to get the same reward, if they all play individually, they might get certain reward, but if they all play together, they might get much bigger reward and with less resources spent. And that is the key idea here that we should use in our interactions in life. If you believe that all these companies, all the governments, all these conspirators are taking away your power, you have to take all the steps I've been talking about to take your power back. But also, another thing is you have to play together with other players, with other people, in order to act synergistically, to make sure that your voice is multiplied by millions in order to achieve your results. Regaining your power, making sure that your voice is heard, that your interests are taken care of, and that you are an independent, rational, acting, free human being. And that is everything I wanted to talk about today. And just to recap it, I believe that if you're under impression that your freedoms and rights have been taken away by some major players in the world, I would suggest that you take responsibility of your own actions, make informed decisions, educate yourself, work with people around you, according to the game theory, to make sure that as a community we work together to make our lives better, to make us more rational, more free, and most importantly, to make the world a better place. Please let me know what you think about this in the comment section, and as always I will ask you to hit the like button if you like my videos, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and check out my website drsamshealth.com for additional information there in the form of blog. Thank you for watching and all the best.